Hey guys, welcome to this episode of the Go Manga Watch Along. I did it again, but this is actually the review for Kamen Rider 01, episode 16? Yes? Good. As always, I'm your host, Frozen Stratos. Here with me today we have...
the Cinder Blaze.
And Makotoa.
Dudes, welcome back. We got done watching this episode yesterday, so this one is fresh in our minds. And you know what? We are done, basically, with our first arc. How are we feeling about, basically, this first chunk of 01 so far?
It felt a little bit underwhelming, just because the climax of, like, the whole arc is basically Hirobi's death. And then they left, like, this little opening for Jin to kind of take up his mantle and then, like, be, like, the true, like, final boss in some way. I feel like they might be doing this on purpose, where he's not supposed to be like that strong, but just supposed to be like a tragic kind of like fate for Jin, because he's supposed to be a little bit more relatable. But as like for the arc itself, just kind of like felt like meh, you know, like we're kind of like hyping up Hirobi like for so long, and for him to kind of just like suicide, we're just like, oh, that's neat.
We don't have
like,
answers yet. That's the thing, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, you know, in a trilogy, this is part one, and we just don't know what's going on. So we've got a lot of questions we still need answered. So it's hard to review it completely.
That's true. But, I mean, on the other hand, it's like, is this first chunk as a first in the series, is this enough to whet your interest? And I think it does an effective job at doing that. The ending of this arc, culminating in this episode, I felt, I don't want to say rushed, but it just wasn't properly like set up, because it didn't really feel like we were moving into the end game of this arc.
yeah.
But on the other hand, it did feel a bit more grandiose than certain Rider arcs endings that I've seen. So
like,
I'm at a strange
arc.
middle point.
Yeah, like especially for like the first arc, like they don't nearly like go to this scale like most of the time, because the human gears were like a huge problem for the company, like all over the place, and like 01 had to like go and save face himself. One thing I like in this episode, when we had that boardroom meeting and like everyone voted to have 01 as CEO, I felt like that needed a bit more setup. Like, it feels weird because it's technically been in every single episode, because I feel like the vice president has been reminding him, you know, you got to do this as the president, you have to save face for the company, and you're not doing a good enough job. But like, we didn't get any of those other board members like actually having like a presence in the show. So when they're the ones that have to make the vote, like we even saw like there's like this lady just kind of like wandering around like looking lost, and we're just like in the boardrooms, it's just like, who are these bozos? Like, who cares about them?
I know.
And like that part of it kind of like fell short. I mean, like the vice president, he always like delivers, as well as his aide. So there's still like good parts of that scene, but it's just like it's like the issue that you've seen with like a bunch of the other stuff, where it just kind of like falls a little bit flatter than you would want to. But it also kind of like rolls into like the next arc pretty well, because it seems like this is all being set up by this Aya.
Speaking of which, okay, he made Arc 12 years ago. How old is this guy? He looks like he's no older than like 30, and he made it.
Michael, Asians are timeless. Yeah.
That
this guy
and like
could be 50 and I'll believe him.
No.
But I mean, to what Alex was saying, I definitely understand that, and I feel like something that would have made this a bit more palatable is if he were more of a public hero, because technically, you know, in the first episode, I guess a lot of those board members were there during the unveiling of the will, right? So at least they'd know that he was 01. But the thing is, with what the vice president was saying, like, oh, hey, you have to save face for the company, like, being 01, I feel like, would be a great help in making that a good face for the company. And, you know, you would see at least the public at large responding to, oh hey, he's actually working toward this, he's actually helping. And you could technically use the public at large's perception of 01 and that conflict as justification for the board members, at least, for knowing, because it's public knowledge and they would have that information. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like, to what you're saying, it's a small change that I think could have made that a bit more impactful, though I do still appreciate that scene.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was nice seeing his efforts appreciated.
Yeah. But I feel like the vice president also had like qualms about just like how he's operating the company, because like just being 01, which is like great, but then like what he's doing in the day-to-day, like he's having like a lot of issues, and like it just ends up working in his way because he is also 01. So there's that, but it's not like too serious of a thing.
Well, I mean, that maybe because he is 01, he's able to expedite the sort of saving face of the company with those powers. Like, being able to save the company comes hand in hand with saving the day. Another thing, though, is what we got to see with 01 and assistant. Her name...
Izu?
Izu, yes, indeed. That lovely scene where they were both in Zaya, not Zaya, Zaya, because we have two of those.
So confusing.
But that scene where they, made the pinky promise, that was really cute. I absolutely love them. I knew she's not dying, but the fact that he thought she was, and, just them promising things to each other is very sweet. And seeing their relationship grow and develop is one of the highs of this show.
I agree. I think that if we're looking at this as an arc, I think that's the strongest part, is whenever you have the different human gears like gaining sentience and stuff, like you feel for them and whatnot, and then like on top of that we finally have Izu going through some of that, and it's kind of something we've been building towards slowly. So it's a good payoff for that. I think that is legitimately the best part of the show so far. So whereas like I think it's a little bit disappointing with the villains right now. It seemed we were going somewhere. Oh yeah, build up to Arc. What does Arc want? He wants this, that. What is Arc, right? And we get this revelation, right? Like we get this revelation that the 20-year-old built Arc when he was 12, right? So I don't find that as a satisfying tidbit for me to like chew on while we wait for the rest of the season to give us the rest of the answers.
You're right. I absolutely do not care about that conflict.
But like,
no, go ahead.
Oh, but like that's one of those things where he could have just like helped built it and not like done it 100% and just like said it that way. Because I feel like that happens like all the time. So I'm not like too worried about the whole timeline situation. And he can easily be like a genius kid who can just like launch Y2K whenever he gets peeved.
Right.
Well, the thing is, like, I don't like the I guess the inclination for the narrative to just be like, oh hey, those villains that we've been dealing with this whole time? Well, turns out there's someone who made them, and he's even bigger, and he's even badder, and he's coming up next.
And all he's done is talk up a big storm this whole time, and nothing else.
All he's done is sit in the middle of an empty room with one desk,
a literal
sort of shrouded, and then suddenly, when he's revealed, turns out he is a guy. Like no one cares.
Yeah, it's not the best.
Like, I feel like it was a cheap way to make him more menacing. Just say, hey, he did this. He made Arc. So friggin' watch out for him. Like,
it just diminishes Arc. It diminishes everything we were building up to.
Diminishes this Arc.
There
we go.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh, also, was it Rising Assault Hopper has fin funnels, and that was neat. That was
Yeah.
a very pretty.
Oh right, yeah, that was a little fun CG animated thing going on.
Yeah, I guess the only drawback I found in that scene was that I could not pick out like a really good screenshot for the thumbnail.
Yeah.
Like everything was so in motion. But yeah, anyway, it was good stuff. This is a good episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right.
I'm lagging out, aren't I?
No, we're good.
I think we're good, yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. So guys, thanks for watching. If you like this episode, hit that like button and subscribe. If you want to hear more from us each week, tell us in the comments down below what you thought about the episode and what you thought about our thoughts, because unlike what you heard from our Ryu Soldier review, we did actually have a discussion, and we're going to set our videos listed as not for kids. I could show you our numbers to sort of, I guess, tell you why we're making this decision. But really, like, I don't know if any of you can see that, but our numbers basically tell us that if there are any kids actually watching, there's so few that it probably doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We are not kid focused. Alex drinks all the time. We curse. So this is just what we're doing here. Hey, I'm not saying it's a knock against. It really helped. Guys, thanks for watching. Keep it juicy.
Yep. See ya.
Later.
Are you sure I'm not lagging? Because you guys are coming in very choppy, and I'm wondering if it's my internet connection. that's
Could be.
making this
Could be.
happen.
All
Oh,
right, you're
Alex
coming in
is-
clear. Oh. You're coming in clear.
You froze for a minute there.
Oh.
Who, me?